Your brain is the most powerful tool you will ever own, but it wasn't designed to make life easy. It was designed to protect you, to keep you safe, to avoid discomfort. That's why the hardest things often feel impossible. But here's the truth: the moment you choose to challenge your brain, to lean into struggle instead of running from it, you unlock growth you never imagined. Science proves it. Every time you push past resistance, your brain rewires, gets stronger, sharper, and more resilient. Today, I'll show you how to force your brain to do hard things and love it. When we talk about doing hard things, the very first step is understanding why they feel so hard in the first place. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you don't have what it takes. The truth is, your brain is wired to resist difficulty. For thousands of years, our ancestors survived by avoiding danger, conserving energy, and staying in safe, predictable environments. That wiring is still with us today. When you face a big challenge, whether it's starting a new project, pushing yourself in school, changing a habit, or chasing a dream, your brain often reacts as if you are stepping into real danger. It sends signals that say, stop. This is uncomfortable. Let's go back to what feels easy. That resistance is not a personal flaw. It's biology. Your brain's number one job is to protect you, and it interprets anything uncertain, anything uncomfortable as a potential threat. That's why we procrastinate. That's why we doubt ourselves. That's why we sometimes turn away from opportunities that could actually change our lives. But here's the exciting part. Just because your brain is wired this way doesn't mean you're stuck with it. Once you understand that resistance is your brain trying to keep you safe, you can learn to work with it, not against it. Think of that voice in your head, the one that tells you to quit before you even start, not as the truth, but as a signal that you are stepping into growth, a signal that your brain is stretching beyond its comfort zone. And every time you recognize it, every time you choose to keep going, you are retraining your brain to embrace challenge instead of run from it. So the next time you feel that wall of resistance rising up inside you, don't see it as a stop sign. See it as proof that you're exactly where you need to be. Hard things aren't your enemy. They're the doorway to the strongest version of your brain. If we dig a little deeper into why hard things feel so overwhelming, the answer lies in the science of your brain. When you make a difficult decision, or even just think about taking on a challenge, one of the most important parts of your brain comes online, the prefrontal cortex. This is the area right behind your forehead, and it's responsible for focus, self-control, and willpower. It's like the CEO of your brain, helping you weigh options and decide what's worth your effort. But here's the catch: the prefrontal cortex is powerful, yet it tires quickly. That's why starting hard things feels exhausting, even before you've taken the first step. At the same time, another part of your brain, the amygdala, is scanning for threat. The amygdala is like an alarm system, always on the lookout for fear, uncertainty, and discomfort. The moment it senses risk, it sends the signal: avoid, retreat, play it safe. And suddenly you feel that wave of hesitation, that urge to give up before you've begun. It's not weakness. It's your brain's ancient survival system kicking in. But here's where the story changes. Neuroscience tells us the brain is not fixed. Through neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire and reshape itself, every time you push into difficulty, you're literally teaching your brain new patterns. Each attempt strengthens the connections that support focus, resilience, and creativity. Struggle is not just mental stress, it's brain training in real time. So when you face resistance, remember this: your prefrontal cortex is learning endurance, your amygdala is learning courage, and your brain as a whole is growing stronger. What feels like weakness is actually the process of rewiring. Every time you lean into the struggle instead of stepping back, you're not just doing the hard thing, you're reshaping the very architecture of your brain. Hard is not a signal to stop. It's the proof that your brain is in the process of becoming stronger. Think about the last time you did something truly difficult. Maybe it was giving a big presentation, studying late into the night, or pushing through a tough workout. In the moment, it probably felt uncomfortable, maybe even unbearable. But if you look back, you'll notice something remarkable. That very discomfort became the thing that made you stronger. That's because struggle is not just an obstacle, it's training for your brain. Just like your muscles grow when you lift weights, your brain grows when you take on challenges. Every repetition of effort, every time you resist the urge to quit, every time you stay focused a little longer creates new neural connections. That's neuroplasticity in action. The very circuits that handle focus, memory, and resilience are being reinforced like muscles under stress. And just like lifting heavier weights in the gym makes you stronger, leaning into harder and harder challenges makes your brain more capable, more adaptive, and more resilient. Here's the beautiful part: the very feeling of difficulty, the heaviness, the mental resistance, it's not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that your brain is learning. Imagine you're at the gym and the weights feel light. You're not actually growing. It's the resistance, the heaviness, the shaking muscles that signal growth is happening. The same is true for your mind. So the next time you find yourself saying, "This is too hard, I can't do it," pause and remember that you are in the middle of brain training. You are literally reshaping the circuits that will make you stronger tomorrow. Hard is not punishment. Hard is proof. Every struggle you embrace today is a deposit into the bank of resilience you'll draw on tomorrow. What feels like struggle now is the very evidence that your brain is getting stronger with every step forward. Here's something fascinating about your brain. It doesn't only reward you when you finally succeed, it rewards you while you're putting in the effort. That reward comes in the form of dopamine, a powerful neurotransmitter that fuels motivation and focus. Most people think dopamine is only released when you achieve something big, when you land the job, cross the finish line, or get the grade you wanted. But science shows that dopamine is also released during the process as you work toward a goal. In other words, the very act of showing up, of pushing through discomfort, gives your brain a chemical boost. This is why small wins matter so much. When you break a big challenge into smaller steps, each completed step sends a surge of dopamine that tells your brain, yes, this is working. Keep going. That's how momentum builds, not from one giant leap, but from a series of small, consistent victories. And each one rewires your brain to crave progress instead of fearing the struggle. Think of it like climbing a mountain. If you only celebrate when you reach the peak, you'll miss out on the energy that keeps you moving. But if you notice every step upward, every new view along the way, you create a loop of motivation that makes the climb not only possible, but deeply rewarding. So instead of waiting until the end to feel proud, train yourself to celebrate the process. That 5 minutes of extra focus, that one more page studied, that one more rep in the gym, those moments matter. They are literally feeding your brain with dopamine, reinforcing the circuits of perseverance and grit. The effort itself is not just the path to success, it is the reward. When you learn to find joy in the process, your brain stops running from hard things and starts chasing them. By now, you know that resistance is natural, that struggle is training, and that even effort itself can be rewarding. But knowing the science isn't enough, you need practical ways to put this into action. The good news is your brain loves structure. It thrives when you give it small, achievable steps instead of overwhelming it with a giant leap. One of the simplest strategies is to set micro goals. Instead of saying, I'm going to write a book, start with, I'm going to write for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is not threatening, but it gets you moving. And once you start, momentum kicks in. Another powerful strategy is habit stacking. Your brain loves routine, so link a new, harder behavior to something you already do automatically. If you want to start journaling, place your notebook next to your morning coffee. If you want to build strength, add 5 push-ups after brushing your teeth. By stacking habits, you're sneaking challenge into the flow of your day, and your brain is far more likely to stick with it. And don't underestimate the power of visualization. When you imagine yourself succeeding, feeling the energy of the run, hearing the applause of the presentation, seeing the finish line, you're activating the same brain circuits that fire when you actually do it. Visualization primes your brain for action. It makes the unfamiliar feel familiar and the hard feel possible. These are not just tricks, they are tools for rewiring your brain. They shrink resistance, reinforce positive loops, and remind you that every step counts. And the more you use them, the easier it becomes to take on bigger and bolder challenges. Your brain doesn't change by accident. It changes by design. Give it micro goals, stack habits, and picture success, and you'll turn resistance into momentum every single day. When you begin to consistently push your brain to do hard things, something extraordinary happens. You stop living in survival mode and start living in growth mode. At first, it feels uncomfortable, your brain fighting against you, telling you to quit, to play it safe. But over time, with every challenge embraced, the balance shifts. What once felt impossible starts to feel normal. What once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. And suddenly, you realize you're not just surviving the hard things, you're thriving because of them. This is the transformation science has been pointing to all along. Every difficult step reshapes your neural circuits. Your prefrontal cortex becomes sharper, your resilience stronger, your creativity more flexible. You're literally building a brain that is better equipped to face uncertainty, to adapt, to innovate. That's not just success in one area. It's a foundation for success in every area of your life. And here's the part that always inspires me most. The benefits don't stop with you. A stronger brain doesn't just make you more focused, more courageous, more resilient. It makes you a better parent, a better partner, a better leader, a better friend. The growth you create in yourself ripples outward, inspiring others to face their own challenges, to step into their own strength. That is the real power of forcing your brain to do hard things. It's not just about accomplishing one goal or reaching one milestone. It's about building a lifelong capacity to grow, to adapt, and to thrive no matter what the world throws at you. Hard doesn't stay hard forever. Hard becomes who you are. The challenges you embrace today are the blueprint of the stronger, braver, unstoppable brain you will carry into tomorrow. Outro of this video, your brain is powerful, but it's also stubborn. It craves comfort, safety, and the familiar. That's why doing hard things feels like a battle. It's not just against the task, it's against your own wiring. But science is clear the very struggle you resist is what rewires your brain to be stronger, sharper, and more resilient. Every challenge you embrace is brain training in disguise. Today, we're not talking about avoiding the hard. We're talking about forcing your brain to rise to it, unlocking a version of yourself you didn't know was possible.